Good day everyone, my name is Ain and my group member is Asha. Today we will be presenting a case study on phytoestrogen focusing on its environmental and public health impacts. First of all, phytoestrogens are plant-based non-steroidal compounds that resemble estrogen due to their structural similarity with 17-beta estradiol. They are primarily found in legumes, flax seeds, and soybeans. The effects of phytoestrogen on hormones responses were first discovered in the 1940s when sheep grazing on clover-rich fields faced infertility issues. These compounds have the potential to mimic or interfere with natural hormones in humans and animals. Through agricultural runoff, phytoestrogen can enter ecosystems, impacting wildlife and human populations. Understanding these effects is critical for managing environmental and health risks. We have identified 3 case studies highlighting phytoestrogen-related contamination and exposure. Case 1 focuses on soy-based infant formula in the USA and South Korea, containing high levels of isoflavones which can mimic estrogen. Case 2 examines endocrine disruptors in water from municipal water treatment systems in the USA. Case 3 discusses zearalenone contamination, which is a fungal toxin found in livestock feed across Europe. The primary route of exposure for all cases is ingestion, with receptor populations including humans, animals, and livestock. The bioavailability of phytoestrogens, particularly isoflavones like genistein and dietine, is influenced by gut metabolism. These compounds are highly soluble and are transformed into more potent forms, such as equol, which improves their absorption. After absorption, phytoestrogen circulates throughout the body and primarily affect the endocrine and reproductive system. Hepatic metabolism can further increase their estrogenic activity, leading to hormone disruptions in both plants and animals. Next, the occurrence of phytoestrogen in the environment is shaped by various abiotic and biotic factors. Water availability, temperature, and soil pH can influence plant stress response and in turn phytoestrogen levels. For example, warmer temperature increase phytoestrogen in production in soy and clover plants. On the biotic side, gut microbiota in humans and animals convert phytoestrogens into more potent forms, while interactions with other plants or herbivores can also alter phytoestrogen concentrations. For the exposure pathways and routes, phytoestrogen enter the environment through plant sources like soy and clover. These compounds can accumulate in soil or water via agricultural runoff or sewage system. Humans are primarily exposed by consuming soy-based products and drinking contaminated water. Terrestrial animals ingest phytoestrogen-rich plants, while aquatic life absorb phytoestrogen from polluted water. Despite these differences, reproductive health is affected across species through ingestion. To summarize, phytoestrogens are natural plant compounds that mimic estrogen and can disrupt hormones in humans and animals. Their bioavailability is enhanced by gut conversion, and they are influenced by both abiotic factors such as water and temperature and biotic factors like gut microbiota and plant interactions. Phytoestrogens can enter the environment through plants and agricultural runoff, impacting both terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems. This case study emphasizes the importance of understanding phytoestrogen exposure and its health risks.
So here are the ways phytoestrogen is responsible for environmental and public health disaster. So for the first case study, so high levels of phytoestrogen exposure from soy-based infant formula can cause hormone abnormalities, early puberty, and reproductive health problems in newborns. And the long-term exposure has been connected to later life developmental issues such as breast cancer. As for the second case study, human hormone problems and cancers such as reproductive cancers are more likely due to exposure to estrogenic chemicals found in water bodies. Phytoestrogens pollute drinking water, and it has also been linked to male fish feminization, which has distorted sex ratios and hindered reproduction. Last but not least, both people and animals are impacted by this because chronic exposure causes issues with reproductive health such as early puberty, irregular menstruation, and can cause changes in secondary sexual traits, fetal loss, and infertility in animals. So these are the risk management that has been taken after discovery of these cases. As for the first case study, health organizations have issued recommendations for limiting highest quantities of isoflavones that can be included in the use of soy in infant formulas. And the US FDA has established safety standards for infant formula, but there's still debate about the usage of phytoestrogens. And to lower the risk of endocrine disruption, several nations, such as South Korea, has shifted towards using less soy based formulas and more alternative formulations. For the second case study, the US Environmental Protection Agency established regulatory criteria for endocrine disrupting chemicals, EDCs, in drinking water. So, improved wastewater treatment methods and monitoring of new pollutants are among the initiatives that had been taken. And to eliminate EDCs from drinking water, public water treatment facilities have implemented advanced filtration techniques like reverse osmosis and activated carbon. And for the last case study, so zearalenone levels in food and animal feed are subjected to restrictions set by the European Food Safety Authority, the EFSA. And with a focus on maize, wheat, and barley, they closely collaborate with local governments to monitor and manage the mycotoxin contamination in crops. So, initiatives that have been taken are food product surveillance and fungicide use to stop fungal development and better agricultural storage methods for their food. The related laws, policies, and regulations, and are they actually sufficient? So, as for the first case study, the Infant Formula Act of 1980 by the US FDA regulates infant formula and establishes safety and nutritional content standards, but there is actually a lack of precise regulation regarding the phytoestrogen content in infant formula. As for its efficiency, current rules do not adequately address the specific dangers caused by it. However, the FDA keeps an eye on general safety, but the amount of isoflavones is not adequately regulated, and the laws are actually pretty loose. As for the second case study, EDCs and other contaminants in public water systems are governed by the Safe Drinking Water Act, and under the regulated contaminant monitoring rule, the Environmental Protection Agency also keeps an eye on newly discovered pollutants. As for its efficiency, the SDWA is actually beneficial for recognizing pollutants, but it falls short in addressing newer EDCs. And as for the last case study, the European Union has established maximum allowed quantities of zearalenone in food and animal feed under the Commission regulation. And as for its efficiency, in terms of limiting exposure of it to food products, the rules are comparatively effective. However, there is continuous disagreement over monitoring and enforcement, especially in small scale agricultural operations. So, is this still happening? How frequent, and has Malaysia actually experienced something similar? As for the first case study, the frequency of occurrence is that, particularly for newborns with lactose intolerance, soy based infant formula is frequently used in the USA, South Korea, and other countries. And as of nowadays, soy based formulations has become more popular as plant based diets have grown in popularity as people tend to lead more towards a healthy lifestyle, but without actually knowing the effects that it can have on themselves. So in Malaysia, due to growing knowledge of lactose intolerance as a less expensive option, soy formula has actually become more popular. And the high frequency of soy-based items in Malaysian diet raises worries regarding phytoestrogen exposure in younger populations. As for the second case study, due to insufficient filtration of industrial and agricultural runoffs, so EDCs, including phytoestrogens, continue to live in and survive in water bodies. In Malaysia, EDCs, particularly phytoestrogens from agricultural runoff, has been shown to contaminate rivers that are close to industrial and agricultural areas. And for the last case study, in Europe, zearalenone pollution still affects livestock feed and grains, and climate change actually makes this problem much more worse and encourages the growth of fungi in humid environments. In Malaysia, despite not experiencing the same level of contamination as in Europe, it has occasionally experienced mycotoxin contamination due to inappropriate grain storage in humid circumstances. Okay. So, what can we actually conclude based on our findings for this presentation is that the extensive usage of phytoestrogen in food systems, inadequate laws, and environmental issues such as climate change makes it more likely that events will recur. Example, infants with dietary restrictions will continue to be fed soy based formulas, and insufficient water filtration method will continue to cause EDCs in water. And according to projections, as a result of global warming, zearalenone contamination will also increase. So, stricter control of EDCs in water and better food mycotoxin monitoring, these are two examples of areas where progress has been made. However, problems still exist due to the inadequate enforcement and insufficient international cooperation among several countries. So, given the growing popularity of plant based diets, it is actually very important for us to pay attention to the possible health hazards linked to excessive phytoestrogen exposure. And due to industrial and agricultural operations, EDCs in water still continue to be a serious problem as of today. Climate change is actually a major contributing factor to the ongoing problem of zearalenone contamination in cereals and food products. Even though there has been progress, recurrence is likely unless worldwide action is taken to improve the technology, reinforce legislation, and educate the public on the effects of this environmental stressor.